I'm the new superintendent for Pajaro Valley Unified School District. And that's why we're having this whole school district, so I can get applause today. Thank you for that. That was very welcoming. And actually, that's been my whole experience as I've come into this community. I found it to be one of the most welcoming communities I think I have ever been a part of. And so I'm so excited and thrilled to have been. See, look, there's an example of welcoming community right there. But I'm thrilled to be a part of that and to be have been selected by the Board of Education to lead this district and to be able to be a part of everything that is going on here. So this morning we're going to hear a little bit of all the things that are going on in the district, but before we get started, there's some people that I would like to thank. Some of them are outside, and some of them are inside. So my team, the superintendent's office, has worked incredibly hard for this event. It's been weeks of preparation to gather the data, to help with the presentation, to make sure we have all these wonderful people here so that you can see the wonderful things happening in our district. And I'd like to take a moment to recognize them. So Alicia Jimenez. Our nutrition services, who set up the wonderful berries, strawberry water, and then our maintenance and operations, who got here very early this morning to set up all of the chairs, everything outside, and then Harindra from our technology department, who is making sure that I know what I'm doing up here with our presentations, which is great. My cabinet. So when I came on board in May, I started May 1st. My contract was approved in March, so I've been here just several days over 5 months. I had no cabinet. And I had one person, that was Claudia Monjares, so Claudia's in the back. Claudia has been a cabinet, right hand, right leg, left leg, head, shoulders, everything, for several months, even before I came on board. And so we did do a reorganization to attract people into the positions, and I feel like I have perhaps the best team in the state of California, and I'm not exactly on that. So I'd like to introduce them. So Claudia Monjares, she's our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction. Michael Berman, who is our Assistant Superintendent of Education. Where are you, Angelica? Here. Our interim Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, and she is on a very steep learning curve, but absolutely killing it. So, yay. Yes. And then we have Dan Weiser in the back, who's joined cabinet from the technology. And this has just been Peggy Pugh, our Executive Director of Teaching and Learning. Thank you. Superintendent could ask for a better team all the way from our clerical staff down. We have our executive assistants. Raise your hands because you have all been and making sure everything looked beautiful. So we really have a great team in PVUSD, and I hope today through our presentations you'll be able to see that. One thing that I'm very proud of today, and you'll see the speaker lineup, is we have Senator Laird here, who's going to be speaking. Dr. Ferris Sabah, who is our county superintendent. We have Maria Elena de la Garza, where are you? And then one thing that's been very important to me as I came on board is that I strongly believe in two things, and that's the voice of the community, but probably more importantly, the voice of our students, because we live to serve students. And so it's important to ask from our littlest learners all the way up, what are we doing well and what aren't we doing well, and how can we get better for you? Because education matters and counts, but we have to hit it in the right way. And so for the first time ever for the state of the district, we have our student trustee to the school board, Daniel Esqueda. Today, and I'm sure he's going to steal a show because he he is one well-spoken young man. I told Senator Laird earlier, hey, Senator Laird, in 20 years, this guy's coming for your job. And I thoroughly believe that. So without further ado, we're going to move forward in our program today. Oh, and there are a couple people I do want to recognize for being here. We have Allison Violante, who is representing County Supervisor Zach Friend. Allison, where are you? Thank you so much. Without further ado, we have our fabulous Mustang Mallet, and they are going to perform for us. And before they perform, I'm going to introduce their teacher, Miss McPolland. Miss McPolland works with these 4th and 5th graders after school so that they can learn music, and they are very skilled and talented. They're going to perform for us today. They're also part of El Sistema, which is one of our community partners, and the Watsonville Youth Orchestra. And so, we are going to have you go ahead and take it away. Woo! thank you. For anyone who can really think about what went into getting that performance to that skill level, all of the teaching and the instruction that had to happen in bits and pieces to get to that is so astounding. So really nice job, Mr. Collin. We're so proud of you as a teacher. Our Senator John Laird, who's going to speak, but I want to clarify that he is actually our friend. we think of him not just as Senator Laird, we think of him as friend of PVUSD because, yes, let's give him a round of applause. Senator Laird has done so much in times of need for our school district. He always has the education of our students in mind, first and foremost, and so that's why we know whenever we have a need, we can call Senator Laird. He probably gets a little tired of us bugging him a lot, but he never acts like it, so that's great. Anyway, Senator Laird, please come up. I'll pass it.
Great. It's rather dangerous when you start categorizing people on the program as whether they're your friend. I'm really curious to see how it goes with the rest of the program. And it is... She said she could unfriend me. And the other thing is I'm excited to hear from Daniel. I hope I'm still here when you speak, and superintendent said, yes, he's a future senator, and I told him I was really happy the filing deadline had already passed. and that we're good. And I wanted to do two things, and one is just talk about the Potro Valley and how the school district fits in, because I've been in the community for a long time, and the Potro Valley is just coming of age. It is really exciting to see. And the school district is wrapped into all the different pieces of it in the ways that really matter. And we gathered earlier this week for the dedication and the groundbreaking of the Potro Levee project. And it is fully paid for. And it is the first place in the state where the state bought out the local share, and there's this narrative, and I mentioned it that day, that Potro Valley had been disadvantaged because they were disadvantaged, and yet the reason it's the only place in the state where the state has bought out the local share is because of the community and because of that. And the school superintendent was sitting in the front row, and it was really clear with the impact on the number of students that didn't return or were impacted by the flood, how this was just intertwined. And we also, there was, right here, was the gala for the Watsonville Hospital Foundation, I think the weekend before last. And as I have said before, when we were doing that bill, and that bill to create the public district, we did it in 19 days. If you know how much legislators like to talk, and how long it takes, it's usually 6 months to do a bill. We did that in 19 days, so the district was days old when the bankruptcy court accepted the bid. And when I was presenting at the hearings to move that bill, I frantically needed statistics on demonstrating what this community was like. And I was able to take the State of the District report and cite the statistics on people that were housing insecure, English language learners, reduced and free school lunches, to talk about what the characteristics were of the people that patronized Watsonville Hospital. And the interesting thing is too, and Paco Estrada's here, he works for LAFCO. LAFCO usually puts you in this interminable process about and things. And yet, we just took the boundaries of the school district, took out Aptos dropped it in the bill, and that became the hospital district's boundaries. And so it just talks about how that inextricably combined. And it is tough to follow that Music Act. And I visited the after-school music programs. And I saw what a difference it makes, and that's in every school. That doesn't happen everywhere. And there was this one touching moment where I go to see this band or ensemble, and they look to me like they're barely able to stand. And maybe they're third and fourth grade, and I'm really old. And this ensemble's playing, and there's one woman that is in it. And I said to somebody, what's that? And it's like, well, that's her son on the cello, which was much bigger than her son. And she wants to be with him as he learns music and plays, and so she is in the ensemble. And it was really a tribute to the community base. And then Adam Scow is there, one of the school board members, and I said, how great that a school board member will come and watch this. And he says, oh no, I work in this program. And I was like, you're kidding. And so it is really wrapped totally in a good way. And I, of course, visited the culinary program, and I've encouraged state people to come and see it as an example of both the fundraising and the gardens, how it all integrates, and how strong a program it is. And I attended this last weekend. On 5 minutes' notice, I inadvertently keynoted it. The LGBT gathering at Watsonville High, where there were hundreds and hundreds of students, and where people were speaking out and feeling comfortable and safe in ways that I couldn't have imagined when I was younger. And there was the Janus groundbreaking here. I went and saw the new county facility, and that's out in the old West Marine building. And it's phenomenal, because in the late 1970s, when I worked for the county administrator, there was one social worker in the county social services department that spoke Spanish. One. And he was a non-native speaker. And the services were centered in Santa Cruz, and Watsonville was considered a satellite. And we did a task force on South County Health and Social Services, and it led to a shift where the services were based in Watsonville, and the Santa Cruz was the satellite, because it really went to where the need is. And when I walked through that building and saw cubicle after cubicle of the number of people that worked there, and saw the number that had Latino surnames, I thought, okay, finally we have an incredibly relevant and plugged in the community human services system. And so I really feel like sometimes you're in it and you can't see it, but it is really coming of age in a very good way. And it is, I joke, Shirley Castillo, who staffed as a social work intern in the 70s, that group, I was visiting with her, and I said, you know, I've spent more time on Watsonville issues per capita than I think any other city in my district. And she looked at me like irritated and was like, well, that's as it should be. And so I think that's an important thing to say. And then there's one other anecdote, which is that I chair the Education Budget Committee. It's what I want to talk about briefly in a second. And one of the first things that happened when I got there is that the University of California Agricultural Cooperative Extension Program had been bled dry for 20 years. Hadn't had an inflationary increase in 20 years. It was 42% of what it had been 20 years before. And it provides assistance to small farmers who can't afford their pesticide advisor, who can't afford their water advisor or anything else. So I engineered a 58% restoration so it could go back to where it was 20 years ago, and they're hiring and adding people across the state. And I went to see Watsonville. I went to see a farm that's just right on the edge of a residential neighborhood, and there is this, I refer to him as a kid. He had graduated from San Jose State a year or two before. He was a product of the Watsonville schools. He went all the way through schools here. He's a hometown boy. And he came back and through this program, working for a farmer, lowered the water use on that farm by 15 to 20%. Using the science, using UC, with his experiences at school. And I said to the farmer, is he going to have a job here? And he says, as long as he wants it. And it was sort of a tribute to sort of the local education system, the state education system, UC doing it, and it all fitting together. And so when we do education funding, we recognize that it's that continuum. We have pre-K, transitional kindergarten, we have the child care that works with it, we have the after-school programs, we have the expanded learning, and then we have the community colleges, UC and CSU, and making sure that people can get there. And we had a challenging year this year, because the great statistic is that since 2017, the per capita kindergarten through 14 spending in California has gone up 40%. So we are no longer in the bottom 5. We are out of the bottom third and hopefully approaching the midpoint of the states, because we are reinvesting in education. And yet this year, in the challenging budget, where we started with an over $70 billion deficit, we still gave a 1% increase to K through 14. And people were applauding, but I know what it means if I'm the superintendent. It means I have labor contracts with higher percentages, I have inflation. That is a de facto cut. But it's better than a real cut that would have made it much worse. And when the governor proposed in May, cutting the University of California by $125 million, cutting the California State University system by $75 million, we restored that. We got back to gains there, because we know that there needs to be a market for the students that are coming out here and that they can get there. And there's a middle class scholarship program on top of Cal Grants. And the middle class scholarship program, he proposed cutting it by 5/6. We were able to restore it to where it was, so that if students come out of here, go to college, they're eligible for Cal Grants, middle class scholarships, Pell Grants, things that give them a leg up. And we know that over time, it's not enough to just deal with the fees. You're dealing with housing and books and the other things that are real cost drivers in the higher education system. So that is what's going on, and we'll have a challenging year this year, but we're going to try to approach it with the same way we did last year, to maximize what we get to schools, because of the first half of what I described here, everything that's going on the ground, we have to make sure is supported. And I'm going to say this in the most neutral way possible, because you should follow whatever your opinion is and do whatever you think is right, but this all happens because people vote. And so, and I was teasing somebody here, because there was a bond measure in the Bay Area about 15 years ago that was defeated by 6 or 7 votes, and they discovered that a number of school administrators in that district had not voted in that election. And so I think that the school superintendent is going to need to do her work just to make sure everybody votes that is employed here. And let me tell you, in equanimity, it's vote whatever way you want. Just make sure you vote, because this is a unique opportunity. And if you haven't experienced it, I was an exchange student when I was in high school. It changed my life. I was an exchange student to Spain. It led me down the path to being fluent in Spanish. And that was when it was a dictatorship, when newspapers were kept out of the country, when people with automatic weapons were standing on street corners, when people did not have the right to vote. And so we need to appreciate that this is one of those rare places where people in this room can actually be the leaders, that you actually can have a say in what goes on here. And believe me, One of the reasons we have after-school programs, much better support for schools, the reason I feel like people have my back on restoring UC Cooperative Ag Extension is the fact that there is an active, engaged electorate that wants to connect their votes to outcomes. And so I would just, and if you don't agree, vote anyway, just for the record. But it really gives you a voice that people don't have in other countries. So thank you for letting me be part of the Pajaro Valley School District family and of Pajaro Valley. And I just look forward to continued partnership so that I can continue to go do those site visits, or I can continue to watch band ensembles like this and know that lives are being changed. So thanks for all of us.
So Dr. Ferris Sabah is going to speak. I want to give him a little bit of a shout out because he's been a huge part of my onboarding into this community. So back in March, as soon as my contract was finalized, I got very busy after hours of my own work, holding phone conferences, Google Meets, anyone who would meet with me in the community I met with. Poor Eva, she had to meet with me so many times while she was doing her own work. Our CDO, Jenny M., who couldn't be here, began giving me reports, and so many people helped. Ferris was one of those. I called Ferris, and he spent 2 hours of his time right off the bat, just not even a prearranged, helping me to learn the things that I would need to learn to help our students to learn at high levels. And Ferris has continued to be there, late night texts, phone calls. He's been wonderful, and also wonderful in supporting our students to achieve what they need to achieve at higher levels. It's going to take all of us to do that, and Ferris understands that, and he's been wonderful. And so he's going to speak today a little bit about that sense of belonging that we're able to.
Thank you so much. I feel very proud to be here as a father of two students, one who just graduated from PVUSD and is continuing their education at career college, and another student at Diamond Tech who loves it there and is thriving. As a person who dedicated 20 years to working in PVUSD, this, as I think it is true for you, this community is so important to me, and I see in your faces the dedication that you have for our community. And the energy in this room, and as we were getting here and getting cheered on by our students, and the energy that we have, this is a very special place, and this district is a very special district. I have to say that when I think about the Family Engagement and Wellness Center, when I think about the world-class culinary garden and kitchen program at Starlight, the dynamic career and technical education offering, the thriving opportunities for artistic expression, like El Sistema, the multi-layered systems of behavioral health services, the amazing family engagement opportunities in this district. PVUSD is trailblazing, not only in this county, but across the state. Let's give a round of applause for all of them. This district is also the epitome of resilience. When the Pajaro levee breached in January, in the winter of 2023, this district sprung into action. And it impacted hundreds and hundreds, thousands of community members, but specifically our students. Pajaro Middle School had to shut down. The district built classrooms at Lakeview Middle School. Within days, students were being bused into those classrooms and being able to get services to minimize the disruption for those students. And the fact that Pajaro Middle School, we recently celebrated the opening of that school, a brand new school, in a matter of months, just shows the dedication, the commitment of this community and the hard work that it took in championing those students and making sure we were doing everything we can to support them to continue to learn and thrive. When I think about our students and their parents, and that it takes more than a 100-year flood to stop them. It takes more than pandemics, than natural disasters, or any other obstacles to shake their resolve. When I think about the power of this loving community to serve those students, and I think about that unstoppable resolve that they have, they are a force to be reckoned with, and their future is bright, and it is such an important part of the work that we do to make sure that we are getting those obstacles out of their way so that they can continue moving forward and being successful in achieving their dreams. And we need this energy, we need that resolve, because the challenges that we face as a community are great. We're navigating challenges like declining enrollment, students experiencing homelessness and home insecurity, food insecurity, a behavioral health crisis, and a persistent achievement gap that, despite our dedicated efforts, continues to widen. PVUSD is on the front lines of combating systemic inequities and providing exceptional services and support to students and families. And we recognize that the district can't do this work alone. It takes a system of support, partnerships, champions like Senator Laird to protect educational funding. When everybody was calling for cuts to education, we had champions like Senator Laird to ensure that schools were protected so that students' lives wouldn't be disrupted even more. When I think about the partners that are sitting in this room, the Educational Partnership Center from UC Santa Cruz, PVPSA, Digital Nest, CAB, amazing partners that are standing shoulder to shoulder with our PVUSD colleagues and fighting and standing up and uplifting this community. And I could list a lot more than that. Maya Foundation, Salud para la Gente, I could go on. And of course the County Office of Education. In the same way that PVUSD wraps our students with support and does everything we can to ensure that students have what they need to continue to grow, learn, and thrive, these partners and the County Office of Education is working to support the district, to support our families. We stand with you as advocates for our students and families, and we will continue this hard work. When I think about one of the challenges that we face, I'm going to get in a little bit of trouble here because I want to talk to you about Measure M and the importance of this community supporting this measure to ensure that the students have the facilities, the programming that they need, and the spaces that they deserve. Because those resources are such an important part, that physical space, the spaces where that our students inhabit, let's make sure that they're worthy of our students, that they inspire creativity, encourage collaboration, and enhance learning. So I hope you'll join me in supporting Measure M. I hope you will help to invest in this district, to invest in our students, to invest in the future, not only of our students today, but really the future of our community and of our country. And I know you're here because you love this community, you love these students, and you love this district. We need to continue with our courage and resolve and conviction to address those inequities. And I think about some of the impact. And sometimes we're going to look at some numbers, I think that Dr. Contreras is going to be sharing with us. But when I think about the stories of people's lives, when I think about people like Daisy Nunez, who is a graduate from PVUSD, who's now a counselor at Watsonville High School. Think about Alicia Jimenez, who is also a graduate from this district and also now leading the communication effort for the district. These are people's lives that have been forever changed and formed by this district. And they have come back to us here in this community and continue to do amazing work. And they inspire us. They let us realize the impact of this important work and the important achievements of this district. In the classrooms and office spaces and boardrooms of this district, we see the faces of commitment, the faces of resilience, and the faces of PVUSD success. And a strong district also needs vision and experience. And I want to take a moment to recognize PVUSD trustees for their hard work and for recruiting the caliber of leader that I've come to know as Dr. Heather Contreras. Every child deserves a champion, and every child in PVUSD has one in Dr. Contreras. I'm proud of her to bring a wealth of experience and passion to this work. And in the words of Zaretta Hammond, Dr. Contreras is a warm demander. She brings a level of compassion and kindness matched only by her hope and expectations for our students, staff, and our community. She looks at our results with courage and states unequivocally that we can do better, that we must do better, that our students deserve better. Let us heed her call to action. I want to thank you for being a partner in this work and know that we stand with you. We are excited for the future of our students because the future is so bright, and we are so proud to be partners with you and continue this great work. Thank you for being a part of the celebration, and thank you for supporting this amazing PVUSD.
So nice. I'm like a little tearman. So we had some people arrive that I want to recognize, and I want to say they came just in time because I'm pretty sure the best speaker of all is about to happen, and that's going to be our student. So we have Tamara Vides, our city manager. Where is she? Been here for many years, and I've had the opportunity to work very closely with Tamara, and she is a stellar leader, and I feel privileged to be able to work alongside someone like Tamara. So thank you for being here. We have our board trustee extraordinaire, Olivia Flores. For the area that she represents, people should know that she asks good questions, she asks hard questions, she studies the issue, and she always goes back to what's best for students. So it's a pleasure to get to work alongside Olivia as well. So thank you for being here this morning. And then we have Dominic Dursa, who is from Robert Revis's office. There you are. Representing Robert Revis, and I see him at many events, including our ribbon cutting for Pajaro Middle School, and then the ribbon cutting for the levy, which was just a great event. So thank you for being here, and with that, you came just in time to hear our student trustee, Daniel Esqueda. Before Daniel comes up, I want to preface a little bit of how Daniel came to be a school board trustee. So every year we have a school board trustee who is a student from one of our high schools. They go through an application process and an interview process, and they are interviewed by me, superintendent's office, and the former student trustee. So this year we had 28 applicants, and I know we were so excited. Isn't that great? We have some very engaged high school students. So 28 applicants. We interviewed 6. Daniel rose to the top, and you're going to see why in a minute. But the other 5 were also very good. And so what we decided to do was that we really needed all their voices because they represented all of our high schools. And Daniel is great. He represents high schools too, but he comes from one high school. So we decided to form a very small superintendent's advisory council of students with those 6, including Daniel. We call ourselves the Core 6. And the Core 6 meet before every board meeting with me, and we look at the board agenda and the issues coming up. Then we form what we call an inter-high council. And so all of the ASBs at all of our comprehensive high schools and our alt-ed high schools meet. After I meet with the Core 6, we look at the agenda. Our inter-high council all meet before the board meeting, and they are led by Daniel and the Core 6. And they talk about the issues that are on the board agenda, as well as things that are happening at their high schools, and they inform Daniel so that when Daniel comes to the board meetings, he's able to speak for the voices of all the students he represents. A phenomenal student trustee. He's leading that inter-high council group with the help of Michael Berman, who gives his time to help organize all of that. And then he also leads, I meet with a group of 40 students. They have lunch with me, and they set an agenda that those students want to meet and talk with me about. And Daniel leads that agenda setting. And they put some really great things there. We had our first meeting a couple weeks ago, and they had 6 agenda items that were pretty hefty items. And so we had a vote, okay, we can't tackle all of these in this meeting, but let's tackle the 2 that are most important to you. And some of the things that were on there were like student engagement, our SROs, teacher quality, sub-quality. There are a couple others, but what they decided to choose that they wanted to talk about first was teacher and sub-quality, because these students really care about their learning in the classroom, and they came up with some brilliant ideas that we're putting into action. One of them was they thought the subs maybe needed some additional training for how to access even just the curricular materials. Like, how brilliant is that? And so we are busy already working on that. So this group is a really important group. Daniel is really exuding his leadership through the different structures that I just described to you, and he is doing a phenomenal job. He also asks hard questions and asks for data. Recently, he sent me an email and said, hey, I need to get this data from you. I need to look at it before the board meeting and understand it and know it. And how amazing is that? Yeah. I had to tell him I don't have it ready yet. He called me out. Anyway, it is my honor to introduce Daniel Esqueda, who is going to speak.
Thank you for the lovely introduction. Good evening, good morning everyone, esteemed educators, community members, and students. I'm honored to stand before you today as a student trustee for the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. As we gather here to reflect on the state of our district, I want to focus on two fundamental pillars of our community: relationships and belonging. These aren't just buzzwords or abstract concepts. They are the foundation of what makes a school district not just function, but thrive. We all know that education is more than just what happens in the classroom. Yes, our teachers impart knowledge and guide us through complex subjects, but at its core, education is about human connection. It's about relationships, the relationships between students and teachers, between classmates, and between our schools and the wider community. For students, these relationships are key to personal growth. In every handshake, every encouraging word, every group project where you learn from one another, something profound happens. Students begin to understand not just the content of their lessons, but their value and potential. I've experienced it firsthand in my own journey. I've had the privilege of forming strong relationships with my peers, teachers, and mentors. Relationships that have shaped my academic and personal growth, and that ultimately help lead me to this role today. But it's not just about forming relationships. It's about creating spaces where every student feels like they belong. This is where we, as a district, have a responsibility that goes beyond test scores or graduation rates. We need to ensure that every student, regardless of their background, feels seen, heard, and valued. A sense of belonging isn't just nice to have, it's a must-have if we want our students to succeed. Belonging allows students to take risks, make mistakes, and learn without fear. When students feel like they are a part of something bigger than themselves, they begin to see their own worth and what they can contribute to the community. For many of us, the relationships we build in school are the first time we feel part of something larger. That sense of community is vital, and it's something we must continue to nurture. In my role as student trustee, I've had the chance to hear directly from students across the district. Their voices make it clear. They want to feel connected, they want to know their experience matters, they want to know they want their schools to be places where relationships aren't just transactional, but transformative. Where they belong, not because they fit a certain mold, but because they are uniquely themselves. Our district has made strides in fostering this environment. From community building initiatives to student-centered programs, we're moving in the right direction. But we also know there's always more work to do. As we reflect on where we are and where we're headed, I challenge all of us, students, educators, administrators, and community members, to commit to deepening those relationships and ensuring every student feels they truly belong. Because when students feel connected to their schools and their peers, when they know they are supported by caring adults, they are empowered to reach their full potential. And when they feel they belong, they not only thrive academically, but grow into confident, compassionate citizens. So as we look ahead to the future of our district, let's keep the relationships and belonging at the heart of everything we do. Let's build a district where every student has the support they need to succeed, and where every person, student, teacher, or parent knows that they are part of a strong, inclusive, and caring community. Thank you.
We probably don't really need to say much more, do we? We are done. So as part of belonging, we know that we've heard this many times. We can't do this alone. We can't do this work alone. And that's why we have a room full of people, and all of you are involved in a myriad of ways with our schools and our students. Community partnerships are very important in this district. And our next speaker represents that. We have Maria Elena de la Garza, who is going to speak to us from Community Action Board. I have had the pleasure, well, when I came into the district, I kept hearing her name, and have you met her? And she's so amazing, it took a little while. But we do have bi-weekly meetings where I have the honor of being in her presence, talking about important issues in the community and what we're doing about them. And that has been really powerful for me, a great part of my onboarding. The work that she does and her community partnership does for all of this community is just tremendous. And it is our honor to have her here today as our speaker.
Buenos dias. So good to be here. Thank you. I just want to express my gratitude to you, Heather, for who you are and what you bring, and your energy and your spirit and your fuerza, and con todo respeto, your chingona ism. I also need to take a moment, right, because dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres, and the people, tell me who you walk with and I will tell you who you are. And the people who walk with Heather that I have relationships with from the school district, like Alicia, where's Andrea? Like Andrea, where's Dr. Vilicic? Like Dr. Vilicic, we work together, we walk the path together, and that's just the folks that I get to interact with, but there's so many teachers. Is Ryan here, the high school teacher? Okay. Ryan is an interesting person. When stuff comes down, I get a lot of emails, but to get a direct email from a high school teacher, is really impactful. And when I get an email from a high school teacher, I want to make sure that I listen, right? Oh, there's Ruby. Hi, Ruby. Another strong relationship right there. He said, this was after the elections a term ago, and there was anti-immigrant rhetoric happening in this community in ways, and how this community registered it was really intense. And by the way, we are having conversations about planning next Friday in this room in case we have to deal with some anti-immigrant more rhetoric after the upcoming elections. So we're organizing. But Ryan wanted to have resources and information for our immigrant students. And he reached out to us because he knew Community Action has been offering immigration legal services for over 30 years in this community. And we talked and we planned and we partnered with the school district to help get information out. And we had an incredible forum at the high school with over 200, 300 families. Was anybody there? Was anybody in this room there at that time? Yeah, we remember, right? We remember, and ensuring that we have the information. But that speaks to the power of partnership, right? We cannot do this work alone. And I represent Community Action Board in the blue building down the street. And today, now I'm a snazzy dresser, but I'm usually not this snazzy. And why I am wearing this outfit, and Faz, my colleague, is wearing her outfit and her hairdo. Please stand up, Faz. They gotta see you. Today we launch 60 years of community action. And so we are all dressed in our best 60s attire. And so community action we exist to eliminate poverty and create social change. And we work with about 14,000 folks a year through our many programs. in different areas, but I want to highlight, the work that has been anchored, right, has anchored this community over 60 years. Our immigration services, our immigration legal services. We see the most amount of folks walk through CAB doors to get immigration services. We have, I believe, 3 lawyers, is it 4 lawyers, más o menos. Doug Keegan was our immigration lawyer. He was on the school board. He saw in his career at CAB over 100,000 families. Isn't that wild? So we let him retire. But now we have 3 amazing lawyers, our directing attorney, our director, still doing the work. Still doing the work. Of those 13,000, 14,000 folks we see annually, about 6,000, 7,000 of our clients walk through the immigration door. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? We offer employment for adults and youth. We've had partnerships with COE to ensure that young people have jobs through their wonderful Sueños program. We offer and provide and run the Luna y Sol Familia Center at 15 Madison, which is a wonderful space for young people to get supported. We partner with PVUSD, with PVUSD to help support the social emotional needs of those students. We have a wonderful parents group that meets every Wednesday. 50 families come out. I mean, that kind of work, we partner with probation, I don't know if probation's in the room, but that kind of work, right, is so critically important. We're at the Wellness Center, we do outreach and emergency service. Do you know that through CAB in the last 4 years, through COVID, through fires, and through floods, we were able to disseminate more than $14 million of economic relief to our immigrant and undocumented community in Santa Cruz County. And I got a shout out to Senator Laird. He was able to augment that funding from the state directly to this community in the amount of $750,000. That is amazing. And that came to us through a 30-second phone call from him. Marilena, I have $750,000, give it out. And we did. $14 million. And we're still doing the work. We are still doing the work. Because while we feel we have recovered, and many of us have the privilege to feel that we have recovered, the community that was most impacted has not yet recovered. And I can tell you that because as part of community action, we do a community action plan. And what we learned in our data is that 20% of our community reported earning less than $5,000 annual income last year. And for the math wizards in the room, you know what that equals. That equals $416 a month. That is the reality of our community. That is where we stand in the recovery process right now. And that's my job to keep elevating the story and keep reminding us that we still got to do more. We offer homelessness prevention and intervention services, rental assistance program, transitional foster care youth program, our kids who are homeless and are surfing couch to couch. We offer support for them. And the newest initiative that's coming for our community is our Tiny Homes initiative, where CAB will be the operator of that space. And it is an honor and a privilege, and I guarantee and I offer to you our commitment that we are going to put grace and grit in that project, because our community of unsheltered folks, which has grown, we know what the PIT count told us, an increase of 60% of homelessness in our community. We are working in hand with our new city manager to create a plan for Watsonville. You know, her leadership, her vision, she's got it. And we got to back her up. We got to back her up in how we move this forward. Lastly, as I close up, I want to say that an agency like CAB does not exist for 60 years, isn't successful for 60 years without 2 important elements. Number 1 is la confianza de la gente, the trust of the people. They believe, they trust We are a trusted messenger, as many of you who are in this room, all our partners, right? Sin esa confianza, without that trust, we can't lift a finger. We know that. We know that. But that trust also means we have a huge responsibility for the students and the families, our agricultural workers, our unsheltered community, our young people, our foster care kids. We have a huge responsibility to that community, to those layers of the community. And the second element is we cannot do it without partnerships. We can't do it alone. It's impossible to think that we can do it alone. And our partnerships with the district include a citizenship program with adult ed that wouldn't have happened without Dr. Nancy leading it. And imagine that, right? We work together. The school district teaches people and graduates them into citizenship. CAV offers the legal support to walk the path. What a beautiful relationship. Awesome. Absolutely amazing. And by the way, Dr. Nancy is part of the Pájaro Alliance, which is a response, and so is Andrea Ontas, which came together to support Pájaro a year and a half ago, and we're still meeting every month. Every month, thank you. Thank you for that. So our citizenship program, our Lunes Soul program, where our young people have a space, how we support the wellness centers, and as I've been saying, working together to embrace Pájaro and those families. That's the partnership. That's what it takes. That's how we are successful as a community. That's how we are successful as a service provider. And nothing makes me more proud. Nothing makes me more proud than to see how these young people are embraced. There's a sense of belonging. There's a pathway to leadership. And that pathway is built brick by brick by each one of you in this room. Muchas gracias.
All right, well now we're going to get down to business. We're going to talk about the state of the district. Thank you to all of our speakers who really touched on the thing that is important, and that's community, belonging, and the health of our young people, as well as the health of our entire community and what we are all doing to support that. So I want to start with a little bit of a story about me and what brought me to this district. So I have kept an eye on this district for practically all my entire life, especially my educational life when I joined education as a profession many years ago. My grandfather, my paternal grandfather, started his educational career teaching at Watsonville High School, and then later was asked to help open the math department and be a math lead at Aptos High School. So we've been in the community for many, many years. My parents were born in Gilroy. My paternal great-grandparents were in Watsonville. And I have tons of family in Salinas. So this area has been always special to me and just a part of my growing up. Coming here, weekends, summers, Christmases, all of that, to be with family. So last July, I became aware that this position was opening, and we had a family reunion that was happening in Aptos, and I have a cousin who has children in the system here, and I said, you know guys, I gotta apply, I'm gonna apply. Like, I have to, right? And I don't think they believed me, because I think what their thoughts were like, but we live in Turlock, what are you doing? But I saw an opportunity here, and it was a community that I loved. And so the thing that I want all of you to know is that I believe in this community. I understand this community. I know I still have a lot to learn. I haven't lived here, lived here till now. But every single day that I've been here in this position, really since before my contract was even approved, has been a welcoming environment. But I also see that this is a community with an extreme amount of passion for the right things, and that's our students. And so I wanted to preface that because everything that I'm going to say about this district and about what we're going to do, I'm fully 100% committed to this work, and it is joyous work, and I really see so much potential. It's a great district now, but we're going to be better. All right, so let me I want to talk about this. This, you may have seen little yard signs all around the community. The saying is you can't achieve your dreams if you don't show up to chase them. That is our attendance campaign for this year. And we'll probably keep it around for a little while, and I'll tell you why right now. So we knew we needed to do something about attendance. Our students cannot be successful if they are not in school, and attendance has been an issue since COVID. And that's not just an issue here in PVUSD, that's a concern across our nation. But we need to do something about that, and so we did meet with our group of young people, Daniel being one of them, and said, hey, we need an attendance campaign. Here's some ideas we have, and they like shook their heads. They did not like our ideas. They actually, one said, kind of sounds like you're trying too hard. So then we were like, okay, we got this all wrong, we better figure it out. And so then what we came up with was, well, what are we doing then? Why are we coming up with these terrible ideas? We need to ask the students. And so we went out to the students and we asked all of our high school students to submit their ideas about what a good attendance campaign would look like, and then also what should be our slogan that would catch people's attention. So we had 487 students submit slogan ideas. I know, is that great? And they were really good ideas. And then we were like, oh no, we have to choose from these four. How are we gonna do this? So we took those 487, we asked the students, okay, which ones sound good to you? Daniel was there. What does it look like? What are some top ones? And they chose some top ones that resonated with them. We took those top ones to our leadership team, which is about 130 managers in the district, and we asked them to whittle it down to 5, and then we sent those 5 out to our entire community to vote on what that slogan would be. And so this was the winner. You can't achieve your dreams if you don't show up to chase them. That came from a Watsonville High School student. Isn't that exciting? So it was anonymous, so we don't know who that student is, but somewhere out there that student drives around with their parents and is like, oh, me. And that makes me really happy every time I see our signs around. So we believe in this, really. You have to be there if you're going to get to your next steps in life. So we're going to review a little bit. Basically, this presentation will go in little chunks. Of some of the important parts that we're looking at. So this is just an overview of where we're at right now. We're calling it PVUSD by the numbers. And there should have been a little QR code, so if you wanted to get onto your phones, there is a presentation that you could look at on your phones and follow along. We're trying to be very sustainable and save paper, so that's another initiative that we have going on. We have 16,687 students. I want to be clear about that number. That number includes our early childhood education students, our adult ed students. That's not just our enrollment numbers in our TK-12 state-funded programming. So when you look at that, and we're going to talk declining enrollment in a little bit, this is everybody that we touch, all of our programs that we touch. We have 2,383 total staff, so our teachers and our classified, and we have 34 schools. 16 of those schools are elementary, 7 are our charter and alternative schools, which we still oversee, and then 6 middle schools, 3 comprehensive high schools, a virtual academy, and adult education. We have a lot going on in our district. Our enrollment has been steadily decreasing since 2016. It is 16% enrollment loss. Just to give a little perspective, the whole state of California is seeing declining enrollment. People are leaving our state, one, but also the birth rate has declined severely. Probably due to inflation is what some of the research is connecting it to. People saying, I can't afford to have a child, which is really sad. So the whole state of California has about an 8% decline in enrollment. We are double that. That's a concern because that is how we are funded. So when we look at declining enrollment, that means right-sizing our district and looking at what we need to do to address that. And that is a challenge. That's a challenge for everyone in California. So we're all talking about it. We're not alone. We're just experiencing that at a higher level. So when you look at the chart and you can see how it declines, You'll see the number for 24-25 in the first blue column at 14,735. That doesn't match up with the 16,000 number, and that's because that 14,000 number is our TK through 12 students that we receive funding for, funding allocations. Okay, so we run a total $326 million budget. Most of our budget, as you see, goes to salaries. 9% goes to our operating costs, like keeping the electricity on, running the water, and then 6% goes to books and supplies. So our biggest dollar number that we spend is on salaries. It's on people. So when we look at how we're doing as a district, we really need to look at that attendance. The attendance is so important and critical. There's some statistics here that show if a student is not in school, they are apt to, one, drop out of high school. There is a huge connection between low attendance, even starting in kindergarten, to dropout rate and predictive of dropout rates. So we need to make sure our students are there because in a K-12 system, our end goal is to graduate students college and career ready with a diploma in hand. And so if we know that our kinders aren't showing up for school, we already have a problem on our hands. And that's a problem that we're responsible to address. And so that's why we're really doing a lot to run a strong attendance campaign. Some of that attendance campaign includes celebrations. Our transportation department's involved, our nutrition services have done different things, like, okay, Mondays they don't show up, what's their favorite meal? Okay, we're serving pizza on Mondays. Kids like their food, they take that very seriously. So, I mean, we're really trying to look at every single thing we do, but the most important thing about having students in school, in the high school level, is one, they need to like it, and they need to feel a sense of belonging, and relationships are critical. So we're working on that end for our high school students. Our younger children, well, they depend on mom and dad to get them to school. So we're really working at doing things with our parents too to help them to understand these types of statistics that impact that end goals for their students. And so one of the things that we did just a couple weekends ago was our triannual, was annual, and then it became biannual, now I think it's triannual parent conference. Well, we kept adding them because they've been very successful, and that's our time to be able to talk to parents. I spoke to those parents a couple Saturdays ago, and it was very well attended, very well attended. Many parents who came on a Saturday to learn the things that we thought would be important for them. Those aren't the parents that I need to talk to, actually, because those are the parents that are getting their children to school, that already understand the importance. But what I challenged them with was, it's all of our responsibility to make sure people know that they need to have their children in school. So that my challenge to the parents was, if you know someone who isn't bringing their child to school, you need to talk to them. We all need to talk to them. And so those types of conversations, and I challenge all of you in this room, if you know someone who's having a hard time getting their children to school, we're here to help. Talk to us about it. Talk to them about it. Have no shame. If you go to Target after this and you see a little child in Target, ask them, why are you not in school? They might say they go to a different school district. But anyway, then we'll be helping that school district too, so it takes all of us, right? All right. So, attendance is really tied to performance, and up here is how our students are performing on our CASP data, which is our California dashboard. This is our annual accountability measure. It's a very difficult test. We ask our students to actually think at a level of critical thinking. It is not the test of old that was really just application. This is really critical thinking. And as you can see, we are in the yellow. We're underperforming. We're underperforming the state of California. We're underperforming for this area. We're on par a little bit with Salinas, kind of up and down depending on math or English, but we have work to do. And this is no one's fault. It is a hard test. I challenge any of you to take that test. It's hard. It's not like, you know, back in the day when I took tests, it was like multiple choice, A, B, C, or D, and then they told you like, never choose C because it's always going to be A, B, you know, you play the game, right? No, our children have to actually look at their choices, and there's often more than one correct answer. So we need to teach our children how to be critical thinkers. That's what they need from us. They do not need rote memorization to the degree that maybe we did. They have computers where they can get everything, but we need to have them be critical analyzers of the information they're consuming. So that's what we'll be working on going forward. So our goal is to have a 98% attendance rate, and currently we have contests going on all over our district. We're pushing the schools against each other. Who has the highest attendance rate? And at the end of the month, whoever does in each of the grade spans, so elementary, middle, high school, they get a party, we come out, we have these ridiculous blow-up costumes, you may have seen them around. They're really fun to wear, actually. And we put them on, and that's our pumped up crew. Our pumped up crew is actually gone even to Aptos Marketplace and the fair. We get students wearing them now. But we were really trying to highlight the importance of having this attendance, and our goal is 98%. Along with this, our goal is a 98% graduation rate. Right now, our graduation rate is like 88, 89%. That's not good enough. And so this year, we are trying everything, multiple meetings on what are we going to do to make sure that it is a very limited percentage of students that leave our system without a diploma. So that is our commitment to our community. So, when I onboarded in May, I launched May 1st with a look, listen, and learn journey. And I probably should throw in now, it's probably more like a look, listen, learn, talk journey, because I talk a lot. And poor Eva, she had to tour me around on that first day that I came in. She toured me around the district office building, and we said we're going to hit every floor. Eva, how many floors do we get through? One. Yeah, and Eva goes, oh, I didn't realize it would take this long. And it was because I stopped and talked all the time. But that was so important to me to learn the community. And I centered my look, listen, and learn journey around two things. What is working? Tell me what's working, because we can springboard off of those things. And what needs attention? What are those things that we really need to look at right away? I started in May 1st. I held in that first week like 4 meet and greets with people within our district, but then I branched out and I had 6 different meet and greets all throughout our district, different towns, cities, trying to meet with different people and all around that same question. What's working and what's not working? I went to every single school in the district in the month of May. I attended many celebrations, which is great. It's awesome to onboard in May, by the way. Like, there's graduations, there's all sorts of seal by literacy celebrations and civic engagement, and a great time to meet people. So I feel like I got a little jump start by starting at that time. So it was great. And here's some of the things we learned. We also did surveys, and we had over 1,500 responses. So I feel like I really did get a lot of information to build off of from the community. So what was working, the things that came up from the community as like areas of celebration were our dual language programs, our arts and music. You can see the arts and music today with how stellar that is, our performances, and you'll hear our choir sing in a little bit. And then our career and technical education. Career and technical education is something really to point to. 26 pathways. Those are 26 different options in our high schools for our students to help engage them into school, but also prepare them for what they might want to do when they leave school. That's a real source of pride for this district. Having 26 career pathways is unheard of. Most districts are really excited to have 5. So this is outstanding work, and that's the work of Julie Edwards. She's in the back. Our arts and music, we're a district that's won awards for being heavily focused in arts and music, and I think that's a joy for children. I see it every day when I go out to classrooms. They're very engaged in the arts, and there's evidence of that everywhere in the classrooms. Beautiful murals, music in the classrooms, really robust programming. And then our dual language, we have at 6 different schools, and we have 52 teachers who are teaching bilingually. That's amazing. We also heard that our athletics program was something to celebrate. People really enjoyed our athletics program, and some of the things that rose to the top through their surveys were not just like the big ones, football, basketball, but it was things like flag football for girls that we just started. That was a huge celebration. We're really proud of that. And then our family engagement. I spoke of that a little bit ago. Our family conferences, we have mini Monday workshops. We have so many opportunities for families to learn and be engaged. It's just absolutely outstanding. And then our school connections. You can see, and this is an area of what's working, but a little room for growth. In elementary, our people feel very connected. 74% feel very connected to school. But then look what happens in middle and high school. That's an area we need to work on. Some emerging highlights that we had, and that we're still growing are I mentioned it earlier, our seal of biliteracy. So this is our multilingual students are being recognized for their language. That is something to cheer about. I have a board member who talked to me and said, I remember back in the day when if you spoke Spanish, you didn't want people to know. That is sad. And so to have this, huge point of celebration. We also have the seal of civic engagement. So students are working to get civically involved. They're attending our board meetings, they're setting up voter registration booths, they're becoming student trustees, which is wonderful. And then we have, like I said, 1,190 pathway completers. So those are students who are in a particular pathway that have been deemed a completer and have a skill set that could actually transfer immediately into the workforce. So some of the things that came up as needing attention is we do have a new state mandate to have financial literacy built into our programming, so we'll be looking at that as we move forward. We have new teachers and training strategies. I spoke of that even our students said, hey, we need to do some things to help our teachers and help our subs. And so we'll be focusing on that. And then cell phones. Ooh. I want to thank the governor because he is supporting us by saying, here's a cell phone policy, you gotta have it, because that is a really tricky one. But that came up as a concern in the community. All right, I want to talk a little bit about a new and emerging source of work. And this one really resonates with me. And as I was studying up on the district when I was preparing for my interview, and then also just as I learned my onboardings, we have community schools grants that we received. But more than the grant, I don't even kind of want to take away the money. It's the belief of what we are as schools. And community schools is a way of being. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but this journey for PVUSD started 2 years ago when they did some research, found out about community schools, and the community schools philosophy really blends with the philosophy or the tagline of the district that's been here for many, many, many years. Several superintendents, actually, and it's whole student, whole family, whole community. And that's what community schools is. So when the district, before I came, became aware of the opportunity to support that belief with funding, with some strategies, and with deeper learning, they began a planning period to get the grant. The grant dollars are in the millions of dollars, like $32 million that our district was awarded just in May. So I was like, I came, and then the award happened. Okay, I really didn't deserve that. But it was pretty serendipitous. And so what community schools is, and you may have heard about that in the media, because it really is a big deal. 7 schools started with the planning and really getting engaged with what is a community school? What does it mean? What do we do? What is its funding source? Why are there even grants for it? And they began unpacking that and worked with a consultant, Kendra Ferrer, who is here. She has been the community schools guru for many years. Yes, she's wonderful to talk to. I've had many conversations with Kendra. Kendra has written many books. And she is supporting us through the work of this grant. But what that philosophy is a really shared leadership at the school site. That we know we need to educate our students. We know we need to educate our students at a high level. But a top-down approach to education will never work. It will never work. Shared leadership and collaboration will always work if it is done with integrity and with true listening and a true belief in the community, and that's what community schools are. So when we say shared leadership and shared collaboration, what does that really mean? I mean, you can throw those words out. But it really is working closely and deeply with the community to create the school that supports that community's needs. I'm going to give an example of community schools at work. 3 weeks ago, so we have a middle school, EA Hall. EA Hall has had some things happen there that have been challenging. And the school is a comprehensive school improvement school. So they're not achieving the way we would want them to achieve. And they are also involved with the Community Schools Grant. So that grant started with 7 and now we've expanded out to 24 schools. So we were talking about, oh, what do we do to help the school? And I was working with the principal, what do we do? And what we designed was truly how a community schools approach. So what we did is all of district office personnel and leadership, along with all the staff at EA Hall, classified and certificated, our union leaders from PVFT, our CSEA leadership, went to EA Hall, and we held a roundtable meeting of basically what do you need to support you? What if you could be the best school in the entire world? What would that look like at EA Hall? Like, dream with me, dream. And they did that, and they came up with some outstanding ways of being. And the teachers designed all of that, and the classified staff designed all of that. And then we said, okay, so now what are the barriers to this? And they named out all the barriers. And that was meeting number 1. In between meeting number 1 and meeting number 2, that same process happened with the parents and the community at EA Hall, and that same process happened with the students at EA Hall. And it was amazing because what the teachers wanted, what the students wanted and identified, and what the parents wanted are all the same thing. And it is unique to that school. And they identified things like our classrooms need paint, our lawns need no gopher holes in them. And then they also identified things like, I need to learn math in a better way or in a different way. And the teacher said, I need help teaching math. And so now we're doing all these initiatives that CSEA owns a part of, our maintenance and operations owns a part of, our cabinet owns a part of, our teachers union owns a part of, and our parents own a part of. And everyone knows what their goal is and what their individual piece is going to be to help that school. That's what a community school is. And so we hope to replicate that process through the Community Schools Grant and through the different pieces that will help to support that work. So you have this, if you've got the QR code on your phone, you'll have this information to explain a little bit more about community schools, but for the sake of time, I'm going to move through that. I want to talk a little bit about wellness, because wellness came up as well throughout all these conversations. Our students can't learn at a high level unless they are emotionally sound and being supported social emotionally. And so we have a lot of ways that we're trying to help our students with that. We have positive behavior interventions and supports, which is otherwise lovingly known as PVIS. We love acronyms in education. So PVIS, we are really doing a great job with that. We have schools that have won awards for that, and really PVIS is just, instead of discipline, like you're suspended, you did that, it's, oh, you made a choice that wasn't great. How can we help you so that in the future, we're making different choices? And we engage also in restorative practices. So maybe what you did harmed another person. Let's get you guys together in the room so you can hear about that and we can try to bridge that gap and move forward. I was at New School 3 weeks ago and was able to see an amazing restorative practice happen between 2 students who had recently been suspended for fighting a number of fights. And now they show up at the same school together, and that was not going to go well. But when they sat down and the principal very skillfully, Sue Girl, she's right there in the back, she knows what I'm talking about, helped them to navigate that, they found out that they had a lot in common. And they're actually friends now, so that's how that process works. Yeah, it was a great story. I think I was like, whoa, Sue. Okay, our LCAP, that stands for Local Control Accountability Plan, is how our district is setting goals to support students and student learning, and then how the funding aligns with those goals. So we went about setting up new goals for 24-27. One is high quality educational program, a collaborative and improvement driven culture, providing intervention and supports to students, training and coaching and helping in our teachers to be the best that they can be, and then programs to support all students. There's a little QR code there that would take you to a very defined LCAP. It is a lengthy document. It is very detailed. It really talks about here are the strategies that we are engaging in. And that's reported to the board over the course of several times during the school year as we monitor our progress. And lastly, and Dr. Sabah talked about this a little bit, Measure M. Why would I put that in the state of the district? The reason why is because our facilities are not in good shape. And everything needs to go back to student learning and student achievement, and there is strong research that students learn better in environments that are nice. Right? I know, it's kind of interesting, right? But I always think about like, well, if you have a messy house and you walk into your house, you're like, oh, my house is so messy. It makes you feel kind of not good, you know, you need to do something about it. But like once your house gets clean and it's beautiful, you walk in, you're like, oh, I love my home. Our children feel that way about their classrooms and about their facilities. Like kids love to be proud of their school. Like, oh, I go to PV High School. They want to be proud of that. And so Measure M is important, not just for our facilities and because we should be taking care of them and we're not funded without a bond to take care of them the way we want to. It impacts and has a direct correlation to student learning. And so our board voted in May, a 7-0 vote, to put this on the ballot for our voters. And what Measure M is a bond that would help to renovate classrooms, to pay for science and CTE programs, to help with our portables that are aging, to upgrade play structures. You can see the list there. There is a lot of need in our district. There is, in fact, $1.2 billion of need in our district. And that is not because PVUSD didn't do a great job taking care of their facilities. That's not it. We are not funded to take care of our facilities in the way that we should. It's very, very hard without a bond. And so we had Measure L bond, did lots of things, lots of districts do bonds, but our need is great. So this bond is a $315 million bond that we're asking for. Basically that means per every $100,000 of the home you own or for business owners with a mortgage that we're asking $60 per that $100,000. So if you have and that's assessed value. So if you buy your home in 1970, the assessed value might be much, much, much lower than if you were to put it on the market now. So it's not market value, it's the assessed value of your home. So $60 per every 100,000. But it would go to great things for our students. Some of what we did identify, every bond you have to identify, like here's what it would go to. One of our marquee projects by lots of community input is a performing arts center at Pajaro Valley High School. But every school does get to identify projects that would help them and things that the community would want and need. And we're going to end with this slide. This slide, I love this slide. It must have been, when I look at it, I'm like, whoo, that must have been a hard slide to put together because many of you sitting there can point out, oh look, there's our logo. So we have all of our community partners. And many of you sitting in this room can find that logo on there. And I thank you for being here, for supporting our schools, because as you've heard many, many times today, we couldn't do it without everybody here. It really does take a whole entire community to lift up our students. So with that, we have one last outstanding and amazing performance, and that performance is going to be introduced by Claudia Monjares, the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction. We have students who've been waiting so patiently in the back right now.
Hi, good morning. So we are lucky enough to have the Aptos Choir with us today. They are led by Jesselyn Levine, who couldn't make it today, but we have Layla here to help support and lead. They focus on musical growth, community, and collaboration. And they're going to be singing 2 songs today. One will be called Be Like the Bird, and the other one is We Shall Be Known, which both reflect themes of resilience and unity. And this choir is so awesome and amazing that they have recently sang at one of the last Oakland A's home games and frequently gets to collaborate with schools and community colleges across Santa Cruz County. So we are definitely honored to have them here. So let's give them a big round of applause.
Be like the bird that, pausing in her flight, a while on boughs to slide, feels them give way beneath her, and sings and sings and sings. Knowing she hath wings. Be like the bird that, pausing in her flight, a word on boughs to slide, feels like a way on boughs to slide, and seals and give way, and sings knowing she can sings and sings. Like the bird that, pausing in her flight, a word on boughs to slide, feels like a way on boughs to slide, and seals and give way, and sings knowing she hath sings and sings, knowing she hath wings.
Good, we can see it.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known
And with that note, no pun intended, that concludes the State of the District for 2024. Thank